This is Online Pass, the video game news quiz. My name is Cyril Lachel, and I'm going to ask you a series of questions based on the biggest news stories to come out of E3 2016. From EA's boneheaded mistakes to Rare's return-to-action games, we're going to be covering a lot of ground. So grab a piece of paper and a number 2 pencil, because this is a test. Question 1. There's a reason to be excited for Sea of Thieves, and it has nothing to do with digging up buried treasure or scuttling enemy ships. The real reason to be excited is that we get a brand new game from Rare. Not counting best of compilations and minigame sports collections, what was the last action game made by Rare? Question 2. After seeing the success of Rocket League, it's no surprise that Electronic Arts is desperately looking for the next big indie success story. EA's Patrick Soderlund confessed that he wanted to be the guy that found Rocket League. Why is that ironic? Question 3. Speaking of Electronic Arts, the company made a big push towards eSports at this year's E3. Instead of showing off a typical trailer, EA brought the Madden Challenge finalists on stage. But uh-oh, what's this? Looks like somebody broke their arm. What happened to cause this potentially season-ending injury? Question 4. Remember a few years ago when Namco was committed to making Tekken vs. Street Fighter? Well, that didn't happen. But one of the World Warriors did show up in the newest Tekken 7 trailer. What Capcom creation will be making his Tekken debut in early 2017? Question 5. Between hardware and software, Harmonix had a lot to announce at E3. First, they revealed the price of Rock Band Rivals, their upcoming multiplayer-focused expansion pack. They also unveiled a brand new style of guitar and docking bay. But it's this tiny adapter that is arguably the most exciting Rock Band reveal. What does it do? And now, the throwback round, where I pull questions from classic game magazines. Brace yourself, the next corner's rough. A decade ago, Electronic Gaming Monthly decided to try something new. Instead of publishing a series of neutral previews, the editors opted to go a more opinionated route. While EGM's readers liked this new approach, some developers were not as pleased. Here's one well-known dev laying into the EGM staff on their own podcast.
So I'm just going to get right to the hard stuff, and this might hurt a little bit, sorry. So it's basically, how was it? In a word, disappointing. Solid combo-friendly controls, thank you. I'm glad you like that part. Lost in a storm of mediocre graphics, lame effects. Lame effects. Mm-hmm. So I'm just gonna call to point. These shots that you have here are actually from the E3 build, mm-hmm. and there are shots. So you think that those graphics are mediocre?
What game is he talking about? Okay, put your pencils down, everybody. The quiz is over. Let's see how you did. There used to be a time when I was excited to see what Rare would come up with next. From Cobra Triangle to Battletoads to Perfect Dark, this was a company that knew how to world build and create compelling action games. But a lot of my enthusiasm for Rare has diminished over the last few years, thanks to Microsoft not knowing what to do with the famed developer. Their recent output has been little more than minigame collections for Kinect, and a well-received compilation called Rare Replay. Sea of Thieves marks Rare's long-awaited return to the action genre. Their last stab at the genre came in 2008, with Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts on the Xbox 360. I hope this is the beginning of an exciting new chapter for Rare. Believe it or not, John Travolta turned down the role of Forrest Gump, one of the biggest movies of the 1990s. He's not alone. Molly Ringwald could have been in Pretty Woman, Johnny Depp opted against Ferris Bueller, and Matthew Broderick could have been Walter White. Let that sink in. After this year's E3, I have to imagine Electronic Arts is feeling a bit like these actors. After EA showed an interest in finding the next Rocket League, the design director of the critically acclaimed indie game shot back with a very revealing tweet. As it turns out, Psyonix had taken the game to EA back in 2011, where they promptly passed on the idea. I feel ya, EA. It's always the ones that get away. Whether you like it or not, injuries are part of sports. They often come at the most inconvenient times, and they have a tendency of ruining an entire season. Believe it or not, these injuries also plague eSports. When Electronic Arts brought the Madden Challenge finalists on stage at E3, all eyes went directly to Serious Mo. While everybody else looked healthy and ready to compete, Serious Mo was sporting a broken collarbone. Did he break it while making an especially epic play in Madden? Of course not. He tripped on his shoelace. I always thought that was a myth. Okay, so it doesn't look like we're ever gonna get Tekken versus Street Fighter. After the game Capcom came up with, I think I'm okay with skipping this mashup. But while Namco has probably ditched the idea, it does seem like we're gonna start seeing Street Fighter characters in Tekken games. The newest trailer shows Akuma throwing fireballs and unleashing uppercuts in Tekken 7, suggesting we might see more World Warriors announced before the 2017 release. This makes me wonder if we'll ever see Tekken characters as Street Fighter V DLC. I bet we will. With a brand new name and $30 asking price, Harmonix made the E3 rounds trying to convince everybody to buy the Rock Band Rivals expansion pack. Unfortunately, they didn't reveal any new modes or songs, leaving many fans disappointed. What they did reveal is a brand new guitar from PDP, a curious docking bay, and this very cool USB adapter. While this little adapter didn't generate much excitement in the media, I would argue that it's the most exciting thing they announced. It's a Rock Band 4 wireless legacy adapter, giving players access to the Rock Band 3 MIDI Pro adapter, the Ion drums, and a whole host of wired legacy peripherals. This gives me hope that Rock Band 4 will eventually support my Rock Revolution Lucky Charm-shaped drum kit. Denis Dyack was not happy when Electronic Gaming Monthly switched to opinionated E3 coverage. After the magazine hyped up Too Human, the outspoken developer was more than a little pissed off when the Xbox 360 exclusive was trashed at E3 2007. He lashed out in a lengthy argument conducted on the 1UP podcast. It sounded a little something like this.
All these people just rapidly want to see you fail, and I sort of look at this and go, saying something like, I wouldn't show this in a high school science fair. I know it's good to be down with the readers and stuff, but we have like 90
Well, come on, it's making a point. It's an obvious exaggeration to make a point. I'm a writer. At the end of the day, I got to make something that people are going to want to read.
Yeah.
The reader gets the point that this should not have been shown at E3, and I think that was an opinion a lot of people shared, right?
When all was said and done, Denis made this bold claim.
I will go so far as to say this particular thing probably is going to change the industry.
Nearly 10 years after making that claim, I think it's safe to say Denis was wrong. This industry has turned more towards opinionated previews and snap judgments, which hasn't always been a good thing. Too Human came out to middling reviews and never got a sequel. As both a game and a controversy, Too Human changed nothing. Hey, thanks for taking the quiz. This is the final day of our online pass E3 coverage, so I want to thank everybody for playing along with us. I also want to apologize to the people who subscribed this week and were shocked to find 3 episodes of online pass show up one after another. Things are going to go back to normal next week when we look at what critics thought of Sonic the Hedgehog in the 16-bit era. We also have a bunch of reviews planned, so I'm looking forward to getting out from E3's shadow. Thanks again for playing, and make sure to click the subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.